In this tutorial, we are going to learn about Bootstrap form elements, and in respect to that, we will be learning all the classes those are used to create this sort of form elements, as we can see over here, such as this input type text or email or text area. So stay tuned to this video till end. Hello and welcome to another new episode of Learning Simplified. In this tutorial, we are going to show you about different form elements. Those are practically used in Bootstrap. Now, first of all, let's get back to our project, and here in this index.html, just beneath this div class container banner 9, we are going to create another new class. Here it is. What we have to do here, we have to create the HTML markup of this form element. So first of all, we are going to create that HTML form element here. Form, you need to create this method. And another thing that I have mentioned in my previous tutorial, that always try to create an ID for each individual form elements. This is a very much required thing that is needed to be done first. And I am placing this ID as personal information. Now we are creating input. I have always asked you to create this name first. This is another required or important thing that we will be acquainted with while we will be creating our own PHP programming language for this kind of HTML stuffs. Now all we are doing, we are just copying these things. So I think we have created a multiple things over here, multiple form elements, as we have created an input type text, input type email, input type password, and then we have created this text area for entering your comment. We have created an uploading file, and then we have created this select options over here. Let's create another object which is known as checkbox. Now all I'm doing here, I'm just creating a label, and I'm putting all these things inside this label. This thing is needed, we'll be seeing about it. Here it is, option 1. Okay, now we are good to go. First of all, just press Ctrl S and get back to your project and reload. And now you can see that these things are practically created over here. As we can see, all these things are practically in its core HTML form elements, and so far there is no such Bootstrap form elements have been present over here. So now all we need to do, we need to create some classes. So let's get back to our project, and here let's start from the beginning. Here in this form method post, actually we need to create a role. What is the role of this thing? This is practically a form element. To specify that, we have provided a role over here. Now inside, just first of all make it spacious. We need a lot more spacious now. Now here, this is the first class that we are going to use over here, div class form group. And inside this input type text, we are using another class which is known as form control. Now what we need to do, we need to get back to our project first and see what difference does it make. As we can see over here, these are the HTML form elements. So if we now reload, now we can see that this is practically the class. This is the div class form group that is being used over here, and inside it we are practically using another class. So now let's activate the Firebug element and let's check on it and see whether these things are coming or not, whether these things are in place or not. So we are placing on this form group element, and we can see that this form group is in activation. And if we click inside this input ID, we can see that this is the class that is being used over here, form control, which is display block width, it is at a width of 100%. So if you just change this width, suppose I'm changing it to 80% or for say 50% or for say 10% even, then we can see that it is now showing the properties, executing those properties accordingly. So this thing is clear that form control class is being used by these form elements so far. We need to get back to our project here, and inside we have to create these things again. First of all, create all those div class form groups. Those will be used over here. Now so far we have created this div class form group. Now inside those individual input types, we are creating the same thing over here, as we can see, form control. Now get back to your project and reload. Now you can see that everything is coming in accordance as those classes are getting used over here. Now another thing, we are using another particular thing that we have learned from our previous HTML form element tutorial. Use this thing over here, 10. We are making this row span as 10. Press Ctrl S, get back to your project, and you can see that the text area component is now getting enhanced, as we can see over here. First of all, if you want to use here this class form control, use it. You can see that this class form control is been used over here, and it is executing the same property as it has done in its previous case. We haven't used any form group element over here. Now another thing in learning web or this sort of things, that do not ask questions like what will happen if I do this or if I do that. No, this is not the approach. If you are apprehending on what will be the actual result if I use this, then just apply this. Suppose that I do not know what will be the outcome if we use here this div class form group. So just use this thing, div class form group over here, and see what happens. So just press Ctrl S, get back to your project and reload. And you can see that clearly there's a margin bottom at the end. As we can see that this capping is now enhanced, this capping is now increased. So this should be the approach, that always if you want to make experiment on it, if you need to be a more aggressive one. Again here we are creating another div class form group. As we can see that it practically enhances the margin bottom. So all we are doing here, we are just creating another div class form group, and inside this select ID we are now using this class form control right over here. Press Ctrl S, get back to your project. See, here it is, everything is under control, and there you see these things are clearly working over here. Now for this level, we are using another term here which is known as level class. So all you need to do, we need to just copy this thing and paste it over here. And in the final case, button type submit, name submit, here practically we can use class button. We are using here button primary. This is practically another class that has to be used over here. We will be seeing just by varying those classes. As we can see that the button property is now changed from the initial thing, it is now getting into a colored button. Now all we need to do, we need to just keep this thing down such that it appears vertically stacked all around. So all we need to do, we need to make some amendments here, such as we are using these BR classes. These are not actually classes, these BR elements. Here it is descending down. Now let's first of all talk about these button classes here.